Hi, my name is Philip from MDS, and today I would like to tell you about our customer Liebherr. For Liebherr, we created a digital product experience as the central element in the release of a new generation of construction crawlers. We call this experience the digital product launcher. But first things first about us. We are a Munich-based agency specialized in guiding companies through the digitization process. Our focus is on Pimcore-based platform solutions. We strongly believe in the flexible application possibilities of Pimcore and to integrate its components into a wide variety of individual customer use cases. And so in this case, we are talking about today, that's such a very individual Pimcore use case. And so what was the starting point for this project with Liebherr? The worldwide product launch of the new generation of construction sites, crawlers, dozers was imminent. Normally a series of bombastic, very tactile and emotional trade fair events with a product premiere for all customers located all over the world would be the case. Impressive machines that can be hands-on experienced with all its senses. But as we all know, trade fairs in 2021 were cancelled. So there was only one alternative. Liebherr had to digitize the product launch by 100%. And so the question is, what was the idea to digitize this by 100%? And we, together with the customer, generated a general framework of conditions to define what our solution needs to deliver to be a one-by-one compared to the former exhibition. So our product presentation needs to be felt and touched. There needs to be a focus on state-of-the-art visual experiences. On the one hand, the content needs to be informative, of course, but on the other hand, we also want it to entertain, to surprise, and to stir up emotions on the user side. Every user should have, in this experience, the individual control over his product viewing, product experiencing. We need an availability of this service 24/7, so everybody can experience it by himself. And of course, we need detailed analytics and traceability of contacts that are generated. And thereby, finally, of course, we want to create a serious sales support through the pre-qualification of these customers and potential leads. So our solution, the Liebherr Digital Product Launcher. And to get that on the road, we made some conceptual conclusions together with the customer and based on his requirements. The speed in which the user consumes the application should be oriented to his individual needs. That's why we control the application with a scroll wheel of the mouse. Quite easy. But as we want the user not only to consume, but to interact with the application, we have flexible forward and backward movements, as well as clickable interactions within the experience. Like in the real customer conversation at the trade fair, in contact with the product, we want to appeal to different senses of the user. We want them to see detailed animations of external and internal components. They need to feel and touch the cockpit and its functions. And the user, of course, should be able to listen to sound experiences around the new machine. But we don't just want to convince the user of the product. We want to surprise them and just give them a good time. That's why we decided to let the user experience the product by telling a story in different chapters. So How do you tell a web-based story around a construction machine in several chapters? We did it by creating a chapter-based storyline that's divided into 7 sections. The first thing is to unveil the product. Then the user is invited to enter the machine, to feel it. He's experiencing the innovations of the new machine, of his new workplace in a 360-degree view around his cockpit. Then we show him the driver assistance systems and present them in detail. And we create our own chapter around the new noise cancelling feature of the machine. In the next chapter, all technical innovations are presented with the X-ray view functionality. And finally, of course, we want to show up the full product lineup and create options to contacts inside the company. All these chapters are seamlessly interconnected, and together they create a holistic experience. So to give this a visual, really good boost, we had to create a really, really good visual experience. And that's all based on rendering. All these scenes are based on really, really huge rendering effects. As our content therefore is 100% based on 3D models, we created a whole process to fulfill that. First, of course, we had a lot of data preparation to be made. A Liebherr construction machine has more than 24 million polygons. They need to be converted to CAD data, from CAD data to tessellated 3D geometries, and need to be restructured into units according to the render relevant assemblies. Like we have a cabin with a shield, we have a drive, we have a chassis, and so on. Then the scene creation, material, textures, and lightnings need to be created for construction machines and for the surrounding, like a construction site. Based on that, the pre-visualization starts. The animatics and perspective of each scene are prepared. We define acceptance criteria for materials in the HDRI of the construction site around it. And there are feedback loops with the Liebherr internal specialists for construction sites to make it all look as realistic as possible. Based on that, the real look and feel is done. In the next step, we create the look and feel of the lighting scenes, of the movements, visual process effects, and based on that, the rendering of the scenes itself can be done with Redshift and Arnold in this case in different layers. So the construction machinery, cut masks, outlines, individual parts, and with all these different layers, in the next step, the compositing and post-processing, the different layers can be assembled, the effects and animation, so morph animations and so on can be created. Text overlays can be implemented, sound effects and background music elements can be built into the whole composition. And finally, of course, a lot of fine-tuning, retiming of different sections, brightness and color adjustments, as well as internationalization of content, of course. To give you a better idea about this very technical details and what it means, we've prepared a short video showing the creation of one of the chapters, the construction site scene itself. So have a look. At the beginning, we have a pre-bought HDRI file, but at the end of the process, not much is left from it. It's nearly all rebuilt in the different steps and with the different layers. So this is the first view of the whole 360-degree experience that will be later seen from inside the machine. This is the first version of the implemented 3D assets. So when we combine that, put the foreground in, we implement shadows, we implement the cabin. Yeah, then we are a lot closer to what the construction site needs to look. And then, of course, with all the lighting and all the final details, that's what the construction site looks at the end. Yeah, and that's only one of the 7 chapters we have implemented. On the implementation side itself, we had some central challenges to face. First of all, we already saw the rendering just. It was a huge amount of data we had to work with. So it was central to find the right strategy for loading and displaying the huge amount of images in a performant way, added by flexible possibilities to configure the different scenes. So therefore, we cut the renderings into single frames. The necessary amount of images per scrolling frame was analyzed, tested, and implemented individually for each of the sequences, always based on the complexity and dynamic of the content shown. So the more complexity is within a scene, the more individual frames are needed to make it look smooth and look good. Therefore, we need a dynamic calculation of the distance that must be covered during scrolling to achieve a smooth play. As the application is running on desktop and mobile, we need to normalize difference in scrolling behaviors, e.g. for mouse with trackpad and touch displays. That was the first part. And then, of course, the massive data handling, and therefore we need to optimize scenes by the level of detail. We, of course, used the Pimcore thumbnailer for the image compression and optimization, and that led to a reduction of data volume compared by nearly 84 to 87% compared to the original render data. For the output optimization, of course, we used the Pimcore translation for multi-language stuff, and we optimized different loading times for the responsiveness with caching. And finally, of course, the user targeting and tracking was a huge part of this project, and every invited user got an individual user link. We used the customer management framework to create these tokens for individual users, and we connected them in the whole application to Matomo Analytics. So let's take a quick look at the application itself. What we see here is in the front end. So let's try to get a first impression together. We have a background sound option here. This can support the whole application if you want to. We have sharing opportunities, but with the first glimpse you see the product launch as a highly resolutioned application. We are playing a lot with the light, shadow, and reflections to direct the user's focus within the application. We use the scroll functionality of the mouse to navigate the page itself. In the same way, we can adjust the speed of the experience that we have. In this first chapter, tension is built up around the new product before it finally is revealed. In the next chapter, the guest is asked to enter the machine, to take a seat. And as I said, at each point of the journey, you can go back, can have a look at details. if you want to. And then chapter 3 starts. Liebherr has focused strongly on the driver and is taking a new look at the entire construction process, therefore. That's what chapter 3 is all about. And these features are shown in the construction site scene. Initially, we start the engine, of course. Then at first, the individualization of the working environment is shown with the several features. Followed by other special functions that make the machine very unique. But we go one step further. Of course, we can also make topics such as digitization visible here, and thus can change the customer's perception of the work area, the networking, the 3D construction site management, or the fleet management itself can be mentioned here as examples. In the following, the user can experience in the working space in 360 degree. The perfect all-round view through the intelligently positioned windows, complemented by valuable additional functions. That's what we saw in the rendering before. For chapter 4, the machine display then reveals the secret of the new driver assistance systems. So we see the smooth transition from one chapter to the next. Here we show the different grading options when working, and these features are supported by detailed videos of the machines in operation. So, next chapter we come to the sound design of the machine. Or, as our customer would say, listen to the sound of silence. Here, the user himself can experience the sound design of the machine. He can compare the old and the new machine generation. So, let's just listen ourselves first to the old generation of machines. With the sound, with steering sounds, and at any point I can switch to the new generation, and you directly can see visually and with the noise how much more quiet the new cabins are compared to the older ones. So there are all original machine sound sequences. The experience goes on with the next chapters. But I think let's make a break here. Everybody interested can of course contact me directly to try out the whole application by himself. So let's go back to the presentation and combined with the experience itself, we prepared a whole global launch campaign for Liebherr to put this application into the right light. It was a 3-pillar campaign, so 3 phases. In the first, there was a mailing campaign, then a streaming event, and at the end, of course, the launch of the product launcher. The international mailing campaign consisted out of 3 different mailings in 5 languages, which were prepared for several target groups and got them excited about the new distribution opportunities. We made them really looking forward to the launch of this machine. The next step, a global launch event took place. 6 time zones, 5 languages, releasing the product launcher, and within this presentation, the unveiling of the new generation of machines. And finally, of course, we launched the product launcher itself. It became a wide accessible feature for all the sales partners of Liebherr, and they shared it with their customers themselves, and they sometimes shared it publicly too. So this was a huge success for the first digital product launch of Liebherr. To sum this up, they made it possible to connect the digital and analog sales experiences. They brought the communication with the customer on a new level. They were fusing the experience of the product itself when they come to the Liebherr selling studios with the real technology feeling of the product when they look at them online. We reached a really positive average user time with the application. So at the end, each user spent around 5 minutes within the application, experiencing the details, playing around with it, sharing it to its partners, showing it to their customers. And we definitely made a lasting impression on Liebherr itself, the people working there, but furthermore, of course, on the customers, and lastly, on the whole market sector and the competitors seeing it by themselves. Of course, to sum this all up, we've created a short video to showcase the whole project at once, and I'd like to show it to you now.
MDS has developed a digital product launcher for Liebherr to introduce the new crawler generation 8. A digital experience that appeals to customers emotionally. A staging which works without clicking, simply by scrolling the website, and stages the product for all senses.
Herzlichen Dank, Martin.
Product presentation and international introductory show from one single source.
Operator, efficacité,
new comfort workplace.
MDS.
That's what we had for you today. Feel free to ask questions in the chat or to contact me directly. And thanks for your attention and see you soon.